Welcome to the initiative on Quantitative Aptitude, Develop, Enhance, Enrich. In this video, we continue to solve problems on compound interest that have been asked in various competitive examinations without using compound interest formula. A man invested an amount in two schemes in the ratio 2:3 at the rate of 20% per annum and 10% per annum on compound interest respectively. If the man gets a total interest of rupees 1208 after 2 years from both the schemes, find the amount invested by the man. So, the man invested in two schemes in the ratio 2:3. So, since the ratio is 2:3 and 2 plus 3 is 5, we take the total amount as 500 and the amount invested in the first scheme as 200 and in the second scheme as 300. Now we calculate the compound interest for 200 in the first scheme at the 20% rate, interest rate. So the amount is 200, interest rate is 20%. So 20% means for 100 the interest is 20 for 1 year. So the first year interest for 200 is 2 into 20, that is 40. Now what is the second year compound interest? Second year compound interest is first year compound interest plus interest for the first year interest. So second year interest is the first year interest 40 plus the interest for 40. So the interest for 40 at the rate of 20 is 40 into 20 by 100, that is 8. So the total second year interest is 48. Now we find the interest on the second scheme. In the second scheme, the amount invested is 300 and the interest rate is 10%. So the first year interest is 3 into 10, that is 30. So the second year interest is first year interest 30 plus interest for the first year interest. So 30 plus interest for 30 at 10%. So interest for 30 at 10% is 3. So the second year interest is 30 plus 3, that is 33. So what is the total interest in both scheme? In the first scheme it is first year interest 40 plus second year interest 48. In the second scheme the first year interest 30 and the second year interest 33. So if you add 40, 48, 30, 33, we get 151. So for the total interest 151, the total amount invested in both scheme is rupees 500. So the interest 151 corresponds to 500. What we want? What 1208 corresponds to. So 151 corresponds to 500. So 1208 corresponds to 500 divided by 51 into 1208. Divide 500 by 151, multiply that by 1208. So if we cancel 151 with 1208, 4 times 151 is 1200, 8 times 151 is 1208. So 8 into 500, that is 4000. So the answer is choice E. The simple interest on a sum of money for 3 years at an interest rate of 6% per annum is 6,750. What will be the compound interest rounded off on the same sum at the same rate for the same period compounded annually? So 3-year simple interest is 6,750. So what is 1-year simple interest? 1-year simple interest is 6,750 divided by 3, that is 2,250. Now the same amount is invested in the compound interest with same rate 6% per annum. So the first year compound interest is same as 1-year simple interest. First year compound interest is same as 1-year simple interest. So the first year compound interest is 2,250. Now what is the second year compound interest? Second year compound interest is first year compound interest 2,250 plus interest for 2,250 at 6% rate. So the second year interest is 2,250 plus 2,250 into 6 by 100. So on simplification you get 2,250 plus 135, which is 2,385. So the second year compound interest is 2,385. Now what is the third year compound interest? Third year compound interest is second year compound interest plus interest for the second year compound interest. So the second year compound interest is 2,385. So the third year compound interest is 2,385 plus interest for 2,385 at 6% rate, that is 2,385 into 6 by 100, that is 2,385 into 0.06. So we get 2,385 plus 143.1, that is 2,528.1. So what is the 3 years compound interest? We have to add first year interest, second year interest and third year interest. That is, we have to add 2,250, 2,385 and 2,528.1, which gives 7,163.1. So the answer is choice 4. The compound interest on rupees 16,000 for 9 months at 20% per annum compounded quarterly is. So in this problem, the compound interest is compounded quarterly. In the earlier problems, it is compounded annually, so we calculate interest for every year. So here we have to calculate interest for every quarter. So for 1 year, the interest rate is 20%. So what is interest for the quarter for 100? So interest per quarter for 100 is 20 by 4, because there are 4 quarters in a year. So 20 by 4 is 5%. So the interest for quarter is 5% rate. Now for 16,000, what is the first quarter interest? It is 16,000 into 5 by 100. That is 160 into 5, which is 800. So the first quarter interest for 16,000 is 800. So what is the second quarter interest? Second quarter interest is similar to the annual interest. It is first quarter interest plus interest for first quarter interest. So the second quarter interest is 800 plus interest for 800 at 5%, not 20%, at 5%, because the interest per quarter is 5%. So 800 plus 800 into 5 by 100, that is 800 plus 8 into 5, that is 840. What is the third quarter interest? Third quarter interest is second quarter interest plus interest for second quarter. Interest for second quarter interest. So the third quarter interest is 840 plus interest for 840 at 5% rate. So 840 plus 840 into 5 by 100, which is 840 plus 42, that is 882. So first quarter is 800, second quarter interest is 840, third quarter interest is 882. So for the 9 months, that is 3 quarters, in compound interest is 800 plus 840 plus 882, that is 2522. So the answer is choice C. What is the compound interest on a sum of 12,000 for 2 and 5 by 8 years at 8% per annum when the interest is compounded annually? We have to calculate the interest nearest to a rupee. So the interest is here compounded annually, but the years is 2 and 5 by 8. So 2 complete years. In the third year, it is not for the complete third year, it is only for 5 by 8 of the year. So first we find, as in the previous case, the quarter interest rate. Here we find the interest rate for the last 5 by 8 year. So for 1 year, the interest is 8%. For 1 year, the interest rate is 8%. So for 5 by 8 year, the interest rate is 8 into 5 by 8, that is 5%. So for the last 5 by 8 year, we have to calculate interest only at 5%. For the first 2 years, we have to calculate the interest at 8%. So what is the first year interest? The amount invested is 12,000. So the first year interest is 12,000 into 8 by 100. That is 120 into 8, which is 960. What is the second year interest? Second year interest is first year interest plus interest for the first year interest. So the second year interest is the first year interest 960 plus interest for 960 at 8% rate, that is 960 into 8 by 100, which is 960 into 0.08. So 960 into 0.08 is 76.8. So the second year interest is 960 plus 76.8, that is 1036.8. Now we have to calculate the interest for the last 5 by 8 year, but not at 8%. We have to calculate at 5%. So 5% interest we have to calculate for what? By the nature of compound interest, for the third year, the interest is the interest for the amount accumulated at the end of second year. So first we have to find the amount accumulated in the second year. That is what the amount becomes in second 2 years. So the principal amount is 12,000. The first year interest is 960. The second year interest is 1036.8. So the amount 12,000 in 2 years becomes 12,000 plus first year interest 960 plus second year interest 1036.8, which is 13,996.8. So the amount becomes in 2 years 13,996.8. So now we have to calculate the interest for the 5 by 8 years for the amount 13,996.8. So interest for the last 5 by 8 year interest rate is 5%. So for 13,996.8, the interest is 13,996.8 into 5 by 100, that is 13,996.8 into 0.05. So multiply 30,996.8 or 8 by 5, then put the decimal after 3 places, we get big 699.84. Why after the 3 decimal? Because 0.8 is there, here 0.05. So total place is 3. So we have to put decimal point after 3 place from the right after multiplying 139,968 by 5, which gives 699.84. So this is the interest for the last 5 by 8 year. We are asked the compound interest only. So the first year interest 960, we have to add that with the second year interest 1036.8, and we have to add the last 5 by 8 year interest 699.84. So 960 plus 1036.8 plus 699.84 gives 2696.64, which is 2697, nearest to the rupee. So the answer is choice C. Find the principal that yields a compound interest of rupees 1632 in 2 years at 4% rate of interest per annum. So in this problem we have to find out the principal amount that yield compound interest of 1632 in 2 years at 4% rate of interest per annum. And in the choice given, if you note, the choice is 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. So the difference is very large. So for 100, what is the interest for 100 at 4% rate for 1 year? For 1 year is for 100 rupees 4. For 100, 2-year interest is 2 into 4, that is 8. But here the interest is compound interest. So it will be 8 plus some amount. So 8 plus interest for 4. So approximately 8 plus. So for 100 it is 8 plus. So for 10,000 it is 800 plus. For 20,000 it is 1,600 plus. For 30,000 it is 3 times 800, that is 2,400 plus. But we are given that the compound interest is 1,632 in 2 years. So only for 20,000 the interest is 1,600 plus. If the amount is 10,000, it is only 800 plus. 30,000 means 2,400 plus. So the answer is, since the interest is 1,632, the principal amount has to be 20,000 only. So from the answer choices, we can find the correct answer choice in this way. Or alternatively, to do the problem, we assume that the principal is 100. If the principal is 100, first year interest is 4 because interest rate is 4%. What is the second year interest? It is first year interest 4 plus interest for 4 at 4%. Interest for 4 at 4% is 4 into 4 by 100. That is 4 into 0.04, which is 0.16. So 4 plus 0.16 is 4.16. So the second year interest is 4.16. So what is the 2-year interest? First year 4, second year 4.16. So the total interest for 2 years is 8.16 if the principal amount is 100. So the total interest 8.16 is for the principal 100. So 8.16 corresponds to 100. What we want? What 1632 corresponds to. So 8.16 corresponds to 100. We want what 1632 corresponds to. So divide 100 by 8.16, multiply that by 1632. So 100 by 8.16 into 1632. So it is 100 into 200. Because if you multiply 8.16 by 200, you will get 1632. So it is 100 into 200, that is 20,000. So thank you for watching. Work hard to succeed. Wish you all success.